Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back. Today's Daf Yomi is Megillah Daf Lamed Aleph. We begin right after the Mishnah, which is 6 lines from the top. Says the Gemara, Tana Rabban, we learned in a Brisa which contains a full list of the various Kriyos HaTorah that we do throughout the year, throughout the Yom Tovim of the year, and we have a full list going through all the Yom Tovim. Now you'll notice that some of them we do keep today, and some were actually modified in the later Deiros, based on later sources, based on the Go'enim, etc. Tana Rabbanan. By Pesach, on the first day of Pesach, what do we read? Which portion of the Torah? Korin Parshas Mayadis. We read the Parsha discussing various Yom Tovim, which is contained in Sefer Teres Kohanim. There's a Gersa Shabbat Teres Kohanim, which is another reference for Sefer Vayikra. Maftir, and what about the Maftir? Which portion of Navi do we read at the Maftir Haftorah? The Pesach Gilgal, describing the first Korban Pesach brought by Klal Yisrael after they entered Eretz Yisrael after many years in the Midbar, which there was no Korban Pesach. And this was when the Mizbeach was actually in Gilgal. So it's on the theme of Korban Pesach, and that's why we read it then. Now the Gemara will interject. We'll break up the Brisa in order to apply it to Chutz La'aretz as well. The Brisa was discussing the Zman of Eretz Yisrael, when there was only one day Yom Tov. Now the Gemara will interject periodically Va'idna. What about nowadays, the Kutrei Yomi, we have 2 days of Pesach in Chutz La'aretz because of the suffix. So what do we read on those first 2 days? Yom Kama, so the first day's Haftorah is Pesach Gilgal, as we just mentioned. Ulam Machar, the next day, day 2 of Pesach, which is still Yom Tov in Chutz La'aretz, the Pesach Yeshio, we describe the Korban Pesach brought about by Yeshio HaMelech. Ushar Yimais Pesach, what about on Chol HaMoyed? Melakid v'korei minyan shel Pesach, we gather together, we compile all the parshas throughout the Torah that discuss Yom Tovim, that discuss Pesach, and we read them throughout Chol HaMoyed. Maihi, what exactly are you referring to? On our Papa, there is a Rashi Tevis, which will keep you mindful of all those parshas. Mapu, Simon, Rashi says, the mem is Mishchu u'koluchem tzoin in Mitzrayim. The aleph is in Kesef Taves Ami, which has a reference to Yom Tovim as well. Pei is Psalacha, and Vav is the parsha of Vayedaber, which is in Bahaloischa, which is in Bamidbar, discussing Pesach Sheni. So Mapu is your simon for the 4 Kriyos HaTorah throughout the 4 days Chol HaMoed. Of course, 4 days Chol HaMoed is only going to be in Chutz La'aretz. Yom Tov Ha'achron Shel Pesach. What about the last, the 7th day of Pesach? What do we read on that day? Keirin Vahi B'Shalach Parei, which of course is appropriate for that day because that's when Yetzias Mitzrayim took place, and on that day there was the Shira, the Aziyah Shira, upon crossing the Yam Suf. What about the Maftir Vayidaber David, which is a parsha of Shira and also has direct reference to Yetzias Mitzrayim. Ulamachar, the next day, the day 8 of Pesach, this is in Chutz La'aretz, Kol HaBechor, we read Kol HaBechor, Maftir Oid Hayoim, which describes the downfall of Sancherev, which took place on Pesach as well. Amar Abaye, Ve'idna, but nowadays, Nog Alma, the common practice is, the Minhag HaOlam is to modify these Kriyos a bit. And he's going to give us all Kriyos of all 8 days of Pesach in order. Nog Alma Lamikri, we start with Mishach, that's Mishchu Kchut, that's on day 1. Tura is Shoyrei Kesef. Kadesh is Kadesh Likal B'chor. Bekaspa is Im Kesef Talves Ami. Psal is Psalacha. B'madbara is the parsha in Sefer Bamidbar describing Pesach Sheni. Shlach is Vahi B'Shalach Pares Am. Buchra is Kol HaBechor Asher Yivolid in Dvarim. Here we have 8 Kriyos for 8 days of Pesach in Chutz La'aretz. What about Batzeres on Shavuos? We read Shiva Shavuos, which describes the Yom Tov of Sukkot. Umaftir b'Chavakuk. Why is that? Says Rashi, because it describes Matan Torah. Acherim Oimrim. Instead of these Kriyos, we have B'Chodesh HaShlishi, describing Klal Yisrael's arrival at Har Sinai. Umaftir b'Merkava. and the maftir is Merkava, and Rashi explains that's the Merkava of Yecheskel describing the heavenly chariot, the heavenly Ashuras, the heavenly Shechina arrangement, and in Rashi's Lashon, it's like this: Shenigla b'Sinai, Hashem revealed Himself on Har Sinai, b'riboy rivavos alfei shinan, with all his entire entourage, and therefore Merkava is an appropriate kriya of Haftorah for Shavuos. The actual kriyas Haftorah is b'Chodesh HaShlishi, which describes Matan Torah, and the maftir is the Merkava, which is an additional feature of Har Sinai. But nowadays, we have 2 days of Shavuos. Avdina and Ketavai, we cover both Shittas, but we switch it around, which means on the first day of Shavuos, which Rashi says is actually the day of Matan Torah, Paskin like Shittas Rabbanon. Then Matan Torah was on day 6 of Sivan, and our first day in Chutzlar, the first day of Shavuos, is actually day 6 of Sivan. Now we're clear about the calendar arrangement, and 50 days after Pesach is actually going to be Vav Sivan. Therefore, it's more appropriate to go into the description of the Matan Torah itself, and therefore we switch around the kriyas. We take the Shitas Acherim, you put that first. Meaning kriyas Torah is b'Chodesh HaShlishi, describing Matan Torah, with the maftir being Merkava. On day 2 of Shavuos, we do Shiva Shavuos, and we're maftir with Chavakuk. What about Rosh Hashanah, b'Chodesh HaShvi, which describes the Yom Tov of Rosh Hashanah? Maftirin haben Yakir li Ephraim, and Rashi says, Mishum Zocher Eskirenu Rachem Archamenu. So Hashem remembers us, Hashem is Moed Rachmanes, which is a fitting theme for the Yom Hadin. Some disagree. They hold we read Vashem Pakad as Sarah, which actually took place on Rosh Hashanah. Hashem remembered her, so to speak, to give her a child. Umaftirin b'Chana, the maftir is Chana, which again took place. Hashem remembered her for a child on Rosh Hashanah. Nowadays we have 2 days Rosh Hashanah, so what do we do on both days? Yom Hakama on day 1, Ki Yesh Oimrim. We follow the Yesh Oimrim. We describe Hashem Pakad as Sarah and the whole giving birth there, and we do the Haftorah of Chana. Lamachar on day 2 we read V'Elokim Nises Avraham. Why is that? Because Rashi says, Akedas Yitzchak Maskirin Kadesha Tizacher Lana Yabam Mishpat. We want to bring out the absolute loyalty that we have towards Hashem, or Moshe Nefesh to Hashem, as an extension of Akedas Yitzchak, and that will arouse Rachmanas from Hashem to us. So that's the Kriyas HaTorah, Maftirin haben Yakir li Ephraim, as we mentioned earlier, Zocher Eskirenu, Rachem Archamenu, appropriate for Rosh Hashanah. What about B'Yom Kippurim? Keren Achrei Mos. So we read Achrei Mos, which describes the avodah of Yom Kippur. Umaftirin Ki Ka'amar Ram B'Nisa. Rashi explains. Over there we have the pasuk saying Soilu Panaderech, speaking about Midas HaTshuva, describing the fasting, which is perfect for Yom Kippur. What about in the afternoon? Keren Barayis, we read the Arayis. Explains Rashi, 6 lines right before the wide lines. Keren Barayis, says Rashi, Shemishi Yesh Averis Biyadi If Shmehen. This is a perfect time for a person to separate himself from even severe Averis. Levish Arayis, Avera Metsuya. Why do we focus on Arayis? Unfortunately, it's a common Avera, very, very attempting Shanafshi Shel Adam, Micham Dasan V'Yitzrei Teikfoy. Therefore, we read a Dafka on Yom Kippur. Taisus has another aspect here. He says, this is the second Taisus from the top. He says, the women are dressed up because of Kavod Yom. So we have to remind everybody, could you imagine on Yom Kippur, we have to speak about this, the Yitzhahara, he feels threatened on Yom Kippur. He presents a greater challenge because of the Kedushas Hayom. So we have to read it and keep mindful, to realize that we're not immune even on Yom Kippur. Ubemedrash, listen to this medrash. Ubemedrash yesh shalkach kern barayis. The fishi Yisrael oisen rembers HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we hint to Hashem. Shekashem shehizur oisem shlel galis erva, just like Hashem tells us, don't be megala arayis. Kach leisegala ervasim avoinoisam. Don't reveal our shame, so to speak, by bringing out and highlighting our avirus. Forgive us for our avirus. So Mincha time we have the Arayas. Continues the Gemara. What about the Maftir? Maftirim b'Yoina. This is interesting. Why dafka yaina? So simply speaking, because over there we find the power of teshuvah, the teshuvah that was done by the Anshe Ninveh totally cancelled and overturned their gezerah. The Chavetz Chaim in Sha'ar HaTziyun has a wonderful vart. He says, what do we learn from Yaina? Look, he didn't want to follow Hashem's directive. He thought he was going to run away to Tarshish. What do we find? Lamaisa, he fulfilled his mission. Says the Chavetz Chaim, a person should keep in mind, there's no running away from one's mission in life. Hashem will ensure that he actually fulfills his mission. He reaches his goal for which he was created for. Everybody has a goal, everybody has shlichus, and it's going to be fulfilled. Whether in this Gilgul, says the Chavetz Chaim, we'll have to come back once more again, 2-3 times, until he finishes the tafkid, he finishes his job. So he says, may as well do it the first time around. Why have to go through the whole tircha of leaving and coming back again and again? And that's what we learn from Yaina. There's no running away. Ultimately, you're makayim, your tafkid and tachlis. So give it all you got. Rabbi Yechanan. Once again, the Gemara interjects the brisa with a memra from Rabbi Yechanan, which relates back to the maftir of Yom Kippur, Ki koyam aram v'nisa, Hashem's greatness and majesty. Says Rabbi Yechanan, Kol makam shata moitze gvurasai, or there's a girsa gedulasai. Shlakadosh Baruch Hu. Whenever we find a reference to Hashem's greatness and majesty, on that spot itself, Sham atamoitze an v'sanusa, you find his humility as well. As great as Hashem is, he won't distance himself, chas v'shalom, from us, as opposed to a person when he achieves greatness and success. I can't lower myself to somebody that low. Hashem works the other way around. As great as he is, and actually this is his greatness, that he can lower himself despite his absolute greatness and majesty. Dover zeh kosav HaTorah, we find it in the Torah itself. V'shana b'navim, repeated in the Navim, Mishlosh b'ksuvim, once again in the Ksuvim. Kosav HaTorah, in the Torah we see a pasuk which says, Ki Hashem Elokeichem, Hu Elokei Elokim, Adonim, describing Hashem's absolute greatness, powerful powers, the God of all gods. Uksiv basrei, what does the pasuk say right after? Oisem mishpat yasem v'almana. Hashem tends to the needs of a yasem v'almana. We find this again in the Nevi'im. Shana b'Nevi'im. Koyam aram v'nisa. Sheichen ad v'kadesh. And this is actually the mafter of Yom Kippur, and that's why it connects. So Hashem's greatness and loftiness, but then it says, Uksiv basrei v'ez daka oshval ruach. Hashem tends to the emotions and the needs of a downtrodden person. And thirdly, we find it in Ksub. Mishulash v'ksuvim nechsiv soidu l'rechev ba'ravais b'koshemoy. Praise Hashem, who rides the heights of the heavenly realms. Uksiv v'ashrei, what does it say right afterwards? Avi yisoyim v'dayin almanis. Hashem tends to orphans and to widows. Back to the Bryce. Yom Tov Rishon Shel Chag. What about day 1 of Sukkot? Koirin b'parshas me'adei shebeteres Kehanim. This is like Pesach. We go to the parsha describing the Yom Tovim, which is in Sefer Vayikra. Umaftirin. The maftir is Hina Yoim Bol Hashem, describing Melchemes Gog Magog, the war of all wars, ending all wars, and that's actually going to take place according to the Kabbalah we have on Chag HaSukkos, and that's described in this portion of Nach. So it belongs on Sukkos. Nowadays we have 2 days of Sukkos. Lamachar, this day 2, Mikrach and Amikarina, and we read the same as day 1. Afturim, Afturina. What about the Aftorah? This is the when they congregated, they gathered around Shloimeh. This was during the time of Sukkot when they did the Chanukas Habayis, so it's fitting for Sukkot as well. What about throughout Chol HaMoed of Sukkot? We read about the Karbonis. Every day there was a different number of Karbonis. So every day we alternate, we stick to the Karbonis of that day. Yom Tov Rishon HaAchron, the last day of Sukkot, meaning day 8. Kern Kol HaBachor, we read Kol HaBachor, Mitzvahs v'chukim. Now Rashi learns like this, that although we're meant to start from Kol HaBachor, which discusses Yom Tovim, but we start from Asa to Asa, which is before that, because it has mitzvahs v'chukim, various directives, all kinds of instructions regarding harvesting and gathering crops, which is very appropriate, very timely for Sukkot, which was the Chag HaAsif. Ubachar, now we proceed to Kol HaBachor, which discusses Yom Tovim. Umaftir, what about the Afterah? We read Vayikach Alei Shloimeh. When they finished celebrating, and this was the end of Sukkot, Shilach Hasam. So it's very fitting for the Yom Tov Achron of of Sukkot. L'machar, on day 9 of Sukkot, this is in Chutz La'aretz, Kurden b'seis habracha. Why? Because this is the last and final Yom Tov of the year. We want to finish with the last brachas at the end of the Torah. Umaftirin, the maftir involves reading Vayamid Shloimoi, which also took place all the way at the end of Sukkot. He gave a bracha to everybody. Amar Rav Huna Amar Rav. So we discussed the actual kriyos on Yom Tovim themselves. What about a Shabbos that falls out on Chol HaMoed? What do we do then? Amar Rav Huna Amar Rav. Shabbos shachal yos b'chol shel moed, Shabbos chol hamoed, bein b'Pesach, bein b'Sukkos, whether it's chol hamoed Pesach, chol hamoed Sukkos. If it's a Shabbos, we read as follows: Mikra karinan re'ata. Why re'ata? Let's take a look at Rashi on the 4th wide line. Mikra karinan re'ata, says Rashi. Sheisha mitzvah Shabbos. It has everything in there. Shabbos. V'regalim v'chol shel moed discusses Shabbos, Yom Tov, and chol hamoed. Why? Dechsiv chaschag amatzos tishmar u'mekan lamanu. This is a source for the Issa Melechetz Chol Shel Moed Meseches Chagiga. So it's all encompassing Shabbos, Yom Tov, Chol HaMoed, all in one, and therefore we read it on Shabbos Chol HaMoed. What about Maftir? Afturi, Pesach, on Pesach we read Hatzamas Yeveshois, describing the dried out bones. Rashi says these were the Atzames of those people who left Mitzrayim before the time was up, so it's fitting for Pesach. But Sukkot we are Maftir with B'yayim Ba'goig, which is the Milchama, Rashi says, Milchamas Goyim Magog, which will take place on Sukkot. What about B'Chanukah, says the Brisa, B'Nasiim? We go to the Nasiim, which took place on, which was the Chanukas HaMizbeach in the Mishkan, and this is appropriate for Chanukah, which also featured the renewal of the Mizbeach after the Ivanim were vanquished. Umaftir B'Neres the Zechariah, and the Maftir is the portion describing the menorah of Zechariah, which again is fitting for Chanukah. What about if there are 2 Shabbosos on Chanukah? So what do we do with the maftir? Kamaisa b'neres to Zechariah. Shabbos 1 gets neres to Zechariah. Ubasraisa Shabbos 2 gets b'neres Shlomo, which describes the menorahs created by Shlomo HaMelech. And again, this is fitting for Chanukah, which is a Yom Tov of the menorah. What do we read on Purim? By Amalek. That's what happened on Purim as well, when we vanquished Haman, the grandson of Amalek. B'Rosh Chodashim, we read U'B'Rosh Chodshech. What about Rosh Chodesh Shechal Yes b'Shabbos? What about the maftir there? Rosh Chodesh on Shabbos, maftir and V'Hoya Medi Chodesh b'Chodshai, which discusses the theme of Rosh Chodesh. Chol Yes b'Echad b'Shabbos. What about if Chol HaMoed falls out on a Sunday? Me'esmol, the previous day, the Shabbos preceding Sunday Chol HaMoed, maftirin, we do Vayomer Lo Yonasan Machar Chodesh, which took place the day preceding Rosh Chodesh. Amar Rav Huna, what about Rosh Chodesh Av Shechal Yes b'Shabbos? Maftirin Chodshechem Ma'adechem Sana Navshi Hoyo Olay L'Torach, which is actually what we call today Shabbos Mafteres Chazoin, which we don't do on Rosh Chodesh Av b'Shabbos. We do it later, based on a source. I think it's the Masechah Seifrim. We have a different system than described in this Gemara right here. So this is his shita, that Rosh Chodesh Av on Shabbos gets the Haftarah of Chazoin. Asks the Gemara, Hashem says, your holidays, your Me'adim, I dislike, they were a burden on me. So your Averos are a burden. My what does that mean? It's a burden. Hashem dislikes, we understand. What about a burden? Why is that? Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem needs to say as follows. It's not sufficient for Klal Yisrael when they do Averos Shechotin Lefanai that they sin. That's not enough. They burden me, they trouble me later to figure out exactly which Gzeira is appropriate for this Avera. Explains the Maharsha. What Hashem meant is like this. I don't want to just punish them randomly. I want to give them a clue, so that they can draw a lesson from their oynish. Look, it's coming on account of that, and it will bring them to tshuva. It will achieve the goal which I'm trying to achieve. So that takes effort to be matriach, to figure out exactly how to send them that message. B'tisha of Gufay Imam Hafterinan, what about the Haftarah on Tisha of itself? Amar Rav, Eicha Yisrael Zoyna, which describes the Averis which took place during the Churban. Mikra Mai, what do we read in the Torah itself? Tanya Cherem Aimrim, V'im Lo Yisishmu Uli, we don't listen to the mitzvahs to the Torah, Golas will be brought upon you, which is the fitting theme for Tisha B'Av. Rab Nosson Bar Yosef Omer, we read Ad Ono Yenatzunu Yom Hazeh. V'Yisharim, some say we read all the way to Ad Mosed Eid HaZois, and Rashi explains this is the parish of the Meraglim, which actually occurred on Tisha B'Av. Omar Abaye, Ha'idna Nog Alma L'Mikri. Nowadays we have a different minhag. On Tisha B'Av we read Kitolet Banim, and you'll do Averis Chas V'Shalom, and you'll have Golus Umaftirin, and the Haftarah of Seif HaSifim, which again describes the tzaras that befall Klal Yisrael Chas V'Shalom when we misbehave. The Mishnah spoke about what we read on the Ma'amades when they gathered to daven for the success of the Karbonos. B'Maaseh Bereishis, we read the psuk in the beginning of Sefer Bereishis describing Hashem creating the world. Minan immediately, what's the point? What's the connection between one and the other, between Brias Ha'olam and Karbonos? So we have this actually back in Tanis, Amar Rab Ami El Moli Ma'amades, if not for the power of Ma'amades, meaning the Karbonos. And nowadays, perhaps it's the tefillos instead of the karbonos. If not for the power of karbonos and tshuva and tefillah, the world would not have an existence. Shenemar, im lo brisi, if not for the bris, the covenant, the bond, your avodah, your tefillah, karbonos, yoimam v'layla chukois shamayim ba'aretz leisamti, nothing will exist. And the Gemara goes on to elaborate on this. What's the connection between karbonos, avodah, tshuva, and the world? Uksiv. We have a pasuk. Vayomer. This was Avram Avinu during the Bris Ben Absar. Mituns to Hashem. Hashem Alekim. You've promised me Eretz Yisrael. My descendants will be Yerush Eretz Yisrael. How do I know? How could we ensure that this will take place? Amar Avram with an Hashem. Avram turns to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ribono shel olam. I understand. You want to give it to us, but maybe things will change. Perhaps Yisrael will sin, and they'll no longer be deserving of this reward. Perhaps you'll obliterate them like the Dora Mabul, Dora Floga. How do I know it's not going to be so? Amar lo ilav, Hashem says, absolutely not. Amar lo fanav. So Avram turns to Hashem, Ribono shel olam, b'me'ida. What does this mean? So Rashi explains 3 lines from the top. B'me'ida. Could you give me any instructions which I can pass over to my children? Some sort of system of kaparas avonos which will address their misdeeds and their wrongdoings and their shortcomings. We know it's going to happen; it's inevitable. What system can we implement to circumvent that, to address that, which will ensure their continuity and their being Yerush Eretz Yisrael, remaining your favorite nation? B'me'ida. Continues the Gemara. Hashem responds, Amalai, Chol li egel m'shaleshes, which is the pasuk right after. Bring me the karbonos. And Rashi says, Kalaymar. There was a message embedded within this. Ha karbonos hichapar alein. Hashem meant to say, all throughout the doros, all throughout the generations, the concept of karbonos, that's the trick, that does it. Karbonos, and Bezman Hazeh we have. We'll see in a minute what happens when Bezman Hazeh. Amar lefanav v'Ribono shel olam. So Avram turns back to Hashem. Ribono shel olam. Teinach bezman shebeis hamikdash kaim. That works when there's a mikdash. We have karbonos. That will address their affairs and ensure their existence. Bizman shein beis hamikdash kaim. But nowadays, when there's no beis hamikdash, ma te'aleim. What's going to be? How are they going to address their affairs? Amar le, Hashem responds. Kvar dekanti lehem. I've established for them a system. Seder karbonos. We have the psukim of the karbonos, the Torah of the karbonos, the Mishnayos, the Gemara. Calls man shikar and ben, when they're involved themselves in the parashas karbonos, they don't bring it, but they learn it. Malon yalein, I consider it for them ki'ilu makrin l'fanei karban, as though they bring a carbon. U'moichlani, I'll call them in the same. I'll forgive their affairs. And the Farshim point out, it doesn't just mean zipping through the psukim. Be cognizant, pay attention. The point of the of kriyas, parshas karbonos as meiri is to bring out the same feelings of teshuvah, which happened when a person brought a carbon, which was the main point of the carbon, to connect, to relate to it emotionally, and therefore, when you do that, even without an actual carbon, that works. So that explains the connection between ma'amados and the tefillos that accompany the ma'amados to ensure successful karbonos. All that sustains the world. All that it brings kapara. Im le brisi, if not for the bris, the Torah and the tefillah and the tshuva and the karbonos, which are mechaper, the whole world would not continue, would not exist, and therefore they would read the psukim describing brias ha'olam to highlight the importance of the karbonos and the tefillahs that accompany them. What do we read on a fast day? It says the Gemara B'Taniyos brachos v'klolos vein mafsikim b'klolos. Now Tosfos points out that nowadays we don't do brachos v'klolos. We read the Rishonim point this out. Nowadays we do vayachal based on Masechah Seifrim. We don't do brachos v'klolos. We read vayachal Moshe, which happened by the Egel, which describes the whole process of teshuvah with the Gimel Midos. But the Mishnah is going with the formal version, brachas v'klolos, ve'ein mafsikim b'klolos. One thing you meant to know is that you don't interrupt the middle of klolos. You just read it straight without interruption. Manan Amili, what's the point of that? What's the makar of no interruptions, no stops? Omar Pchir bar Gamda Omar Basi. Damakros, based on a pasuk in Mishlei Gimel. Musa Hashem b'ni al ti'mas. Hashem says, my son b'ni, my musar, don't reject. And when you stop in the middle, it appears like you're not interested in listening to my musar. So, klolos, all in one sitting. Rish Lagosh Amar, another reason. We don't apply bracha to description of tragic events, to puranas, to suffering. It's sort of the opposite of a bracha. Bracha is shefa, is enhancement, is growth, is a blessing. And klala is just the opposite. So we don't do a bracha on puranas, and therefore we don't want to stop in the middle of the klala, because then the next oila would have to make a bracha when he resumes the klalas. Elahechi avid. So what then do we do when it comes to the klalas? We want to read it one continuous, uninterrupted sitting, and also we don't want a bracha on the klalas. We do as follows. Tana, the Brisa explains. Kshu maschel a pasuk shalifneim. You begin with the pasuk before the klala, so you make the bracha on ordinary pasuk. Ukshu masayim, and when he's done the klalas, you go into the next parsha after the klalas. Masayim b'pasuk shalachrein. You go one pasuk into the next section, and that's where you're going to make the bracha. So Rashi explains here 6 lines from the top. Al timas v'mafsik behen. Don't stop. Why? Because it appears like you're rejecting it. V'mafsik behen marek atzmei shekasher lelikrois. Says, you're not interested in reading the klala. You have to do that too. Hashem wants to give you musar to set you straight. Maseches Seifrim, Rashi brings a Brisa Maseches Seifrim, which has another different angle on the drasha here. Yolav lam b'sefer the Quran. The second part of that pasuk, the pasuk reads like this: Musar Hashem b'nei al timas va'al tokutz b'seichachtoi. Don't be cut. Don't express your dislike for Hashem's teichach. So Rashi says like this. Tokutz is lashon of thorns, like pieces, broken up. Altaso koitzen, psakim lashon ktsitsa. Don't cut up the klal. It should be one continuous experience. Continues the Gemara. Amar Abai lo shanu. This concern only applies ela b'klaloi shebeteres kehanim, on those klalos in Sefer Vayikra in B'chuk Kaisai. You don't stop. You don't interrupt. But the klala is contained in Mishnah Torah in Devarim. It's called Mishnah Torah because it's a repeat, a review of the Torah. So those in Parshas Kesavai are different. Paisik, you can stop in the middle. There's no concern with stopping and applying a bracha on the klala there as well. My time, what's the difference? Halol b'lashon rabim amuris. The klalas in B'chuk Kaisai were related in a lashon rabim, in a plural lashon, indicating that it was addressing Klal Yisrael collectively. That's number one. U'Moshe mipir gvura amran, and it was related by Moshe Rabbeinu directly from Hashem. In fact, you find that it's in the first person. I will do this, I will do that. He was sort of broadcasting Hashem's words. As opposed to the klalas in Mishnah Torah, v'halol b'lashon yochad amuris. Firstly, they address a single person, you. It's not lashon rabim, speaking to the collective community. Number two, Moshe mepi atzmei amran. It's Moshe Rabbeinu speaking from himself. Tosfos adds the words u'Ruach HaKodesh. Of course, he didn't make it up. It was through Ruach HaKodesh, but it's on a lower level, so to speak, than the other Chumashim, and therefore does not have the same concern. Says Rashi, middle of the Amud, Moshe Mepiach Gvura Moran. V'nase shliach loymar kach amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He became a shliach. Hashem wasn't directly. It wasn't like sort of a live broadcast. That's how the Maral explains it. It wasn't a live broadcast. Hashem speaking through the throat of Moshe. That only applies to the first 4 Chumashim, Bereshis through Bamidbar. But Dvarim was related by Hashem to Moshe. Of course, Hashem dictates it to Moshe, but it's sort of on a delayed broadcast. It was sort of recorded and then relayed later. And we find that also it was more direct, it was more individual, it wasn't plural to Klal Yisrael in general. So going back to Vayikra, right over there, it's direct. Direct. In fact, you see the Lashon is first person. I will give, I will send. Who's speaking? That's Hashem speaking through Moshe Rabbeinu. Hashem, who has the ability to carry it out. So that is Vayikra. That is B'chol Kosher. Aval Mishnah Torah, but in Kisave, which is in Devarim, we find slightly different language. Ksiv Yakecha Hashem, Yad Bika Hashem B'cha. It's Moshe who's speaking Amar Me'elav. He's speaking on his own. He's saying, look, if you disregard Hashem's mitzvahs, Ta'avro mitzvahs, Hu Yafkid Alechem, He will strike as follows. So it's sort of in third person. So we find 2 differences, and that somehow explains the difference. It justifies being mafsik, although you don't interrupt by the first techacha, because that was collectively to Klal Yisrael, and that was directly from Hashem, and therefore this concept of Musar Hashem B'ni Al Timas applies there. When Hashem is speaking to you directly, you don't interrupt. And since it's in collective terms, describing Klal Yisrael in general experiencing Chas v'Shalom misfortune and sorrow, a bracha can't apply. Tosfos adds B'Shem Yerushalmi. What's wrong with adding a bracha, applying a bracha, brachas HaTorah on the klala? So he brings, because Hashem says, I'm found with you, I'm present with you, I accompany you to the galus. V'imkein ein din she'yirvachuni banai al atzar shelahem. Unbelievable. Hashem is with us. Hashem is experiencing the tzara with us. A bracha at this point is inappropriate. So Dafka went into Lashon Rabbim, which describes the collective experience of Klal Yisrael, which is the primary time when we have this inyan of Imanech b'tzara. Hashem is found with Yisrael and Golas. But when it comes to Mishnah Torah, which is firstly Moshe Mipi Atzmo, you don't have that direct address from Hashem Himself, so that allows interruption, first of all, and the bracha as well, because since it's Lashon Yachid, to you, so you don't have that reference of that collective Golos experience, which features this the inyan of Imanech B'tzar, which is primarily for Klal Yisrael in general. So therefore, the concept of bracha not applying to the Klola situation would not be a concern here. So that's the Mepharshim point out that both these chilukim address both concerns. Again, quickly, we have 2 concerns: don't interrupt and don't apply a bracha. That only applies by the first one, which is directly from Hashem, so don't interrupt, which refers to Klal Yisrael in general collectively, which features the concept of Imanech B'tzar, which is primarily applied to Klal Yisrael in general when they were gullus, and therefore bracha should not be applied in that case, as opposed to the Klolos in Mishnah Torah, which don't have these features. So again, the first one was Moshe Pi Gvura Amaron, as opposed to the second one was Moshe Pi Atzmo Amar. Says the word, there was a story involving Levi Barbuti, Havakari. So he was reading the Klolos in Devarim in Mishnah Torah, become a gam game, and he was sort of mumbling. He was running through it quickly, perhaps in a low voice. Kamed Rav Huna, in front of Rav Huna Baruri in the Klolos of Mishnah Torah. He was mumbling and he didn't want to stop. He wanted to read it continuously. Amar Lois, Rav Huna said, Aken nafshecha. Nefesh is lashon of rotzen, right? So read it as you wish. You don't have to rush through it. You can stop, take a break. because there's no concern here. Loishanu, this whole concern is only ala klala shebeteres kohanim and vayikra. Aval shebe Mishnah Torah Paisek, but in your case the klalos of Devarim can be interrupted. Tanya, Rab Shimon ben Elazar, Ezra Tikkun Lam Yisrael, Ezra Sefer established a system of Kriyas HaTorah as follows: Sheyu kohen klalos shebeteres kohanim, they should get through the klalos in Vayikra, kodim atzeres before Shavuos. That's number one. Uvishebe Mishnah Torah, and the klalos found in Devarim should be read kodim Rosh Hashanah. My time of why? What's the connection? Amar Abaye v'Item Rish Lakish, Kedei shetichle Hashana v'Kidloiseh. They should be timed in a manner where they take place at the end of the year. So at year's end, you refer to the klalos, which is sort of sending a message like, okay, the year is up, and the klalos are up. Now starts a new year, a fresh zman, a new slate, hopefully just brach. Explains the Gemara, Bishlam Moshe Mishnah Torah. We understand the second part of the takana, the techacha in Mishnah Torah, which takes place before Rosh Hashanah. So that works. Ika kadei shetichlet shana v'koloseh. So you're ending the calendar year with the klolos. That makes sense. Ela shebeteres kohanim. What about the klolos in Vayikra v'chakoisai, right before Shavuos? That's not year's end. Atu atzeres Rosh Hashanah. Since when is atzeres Rosh Hashanah? And yes, it is atzeres nami Rosh Hashanah. There's an element of a new year there as well. This not as we learned in Rosh Hashanah. Ubatzeres aperes ilan, the time of judgment. The sort of the beginning of the new year for the Peres Ilan, for the fruit trees, is on Shavuos. And as Mefarshim explained, there's a connection, a correlation between Peres Ilan and a person. The pasuk says here, Adam Eitz Hasada, it grows like a fruit tree, produces. So it's reminiscent of a person's Yom Adin, and we consider that to be the beginning of the year to a certain extent, and therefore we do the klala right before that, so the year ends with a klala and no more. Tanya, Rab Shimon ben Elazar Omer. So another statement from the same Amar. Im yomer lecha zekenim sesar. Suppose you want to add a floor to your house. Take advice from elders, experienced, wise people, and they say, you know what? This first floor is not going to be strong enough to sustain the upper floor. Destroy it, demolish it, rebuild it in a more reinforced manner which can tolerate an upper floor. So that's their advice. You go to the young architect, he says, no, B'nai, just add the next floor. Don't worry about it. Who do you listen to? Sir, Valtivna. Demolish, don't build. The stira of an older person facilitates growth. Sure, they're telling you to demolish, to allow growth, to allow a properly supported structure. Listen to them, they have experience, they have patience and maturity. Listen to them, they know what they're talking about. But the haphazard building of youngsters just brings to destruction. Similar davar, what's a good sign, a good raya to this point? Look what happened to Rechavam ben Shlomo Melech's son, who wanted to establish his malchus properly, and the nation was asking for a tax break. He asked advice of the elders, and they said, look, listen to the people. Cut their taxes. You know what's going to happen? Actually, in the long run, you'll gain. You'll buy them. You'll buy their favor. They'll be loyal to you. They'll be committed to you, and you'll end up with more taxes than you think. But the Eladim said, no, enrich yourself. Hike the taxes. Amass wealth and riches, and that's how you establish yourself. And he listened to the youngsters, and they rebelled. The nation rebelled, and in fact, that's how the Malchus got split between himself and Yeravim ben Avat. Don't listen to the young, inexperienced advisors. Go to the elders who are more mature and level-headed. Tana Rabban, what about Kriyas HaTorah on Shabbos morning, Shabbos Mincha, Monday, Thursday? How does it work? So according to the first Shita of Meir, we go as follows. Mokem shemafsikim b'Shabbos Shachris. Shabbos in the morning, you read the entire parsha, right, from beginning to end. At the point where you stop b'Shabbos Shachris, you pick up in the afternoon by Mincha. Sham Karen b'Mincha, which means Mincha time, you go on to the next parsha, the parsha the following week. B'Mincha, the spot where you end off by Mincha, Sham Karen b'Sheni. That's where you pick up on Monday. So you just keep on going into the next parsha. B'Sheni, a spot where you finish on Monday. Sham Karen B'Chamishi, that's where you pick up on Thursday. B'Chamishi, where you end on Thursday. Sham Karen Shabbos Haba, that's where you pick up next week. So you don't repeat anything. You don't even know you repeat. Malkim Shemafsikim B'Shabbos Shachris, the spot where you finish, where you conclude Shabbos in the morning, at the end of this week's parsha. Sham Karen B'Mincha, that's where you pick up on Mincha. You go into the next week, but then you repeat that portion over and over. Ubasheni, same thing on Monday. B'Chamishi, same thing on Thursday. Ulo Shabbos Haba, and the next Shabbos as well. You start from the beginning and proceed further. Amar B'Zeira, the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. Malkem Shemafsikim B'Shabbos Shacharis, the spot where you end off Shabbos in the morning, you pick up in the afternoon. Sham Karen B'Mincha, and repeat again. Ubasheni on a Monday. B'Chamishi on the Thursday. Ulo Shabbos Haba. Likewise, next week you start all over again from the beginning of next week's parsha. This is like Shittas Rabbi Yehuda. So why doesn't he just say Halach Rabbi Yehuda? V'lei Malach Rabbi Yehuda. Why does he have to go into the whole description? Why doesn't he just say briefly Halach Rabbi Yehuda? Mishum da'af chilu, because there were others that switched the names around. They applied Rabbi Yehuda's Shita to Rabbi Meir, Rabbi to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Zeir wanted to be careful. Therefore, he spelled out the whole Shita, not just the name, but the details as well, so that we know which way to follow. And this is actually what we do today as well. Okay, let's do a quick review of today's daf. We had a brayso, and the Gemara added some additional elements of the Kriyas HaTorah, which takes place throughout the Yom Tovim, the Kriyas HaTorah itself, and the Maftir, some of which we keep today, and some were modified in later generations. We discussed the connection between the Ma'amades and Maaseh Bereishis, Karbonos, Tefillah, and even today, the reading of those parshas bring about tshuva, which ensures kiyum ha'olam. We're not mafsikin kloles of Teres Koyanim, and we learned about the Kriyas HaTorah system between Shabbos, Shacharis, Mincha, Monday and Thursday, and the next week of Shabbos. All the best to you, and much hatzlacha.